Thursday at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom in
Matter of Factly
with Ray
and Joey.
I'm JJ.
I'm JM.
I'm Jack.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time WoW!
Wisdom on Wednesdays.
Your weekly dose of wisdom.
So every Wednesday, we will invite wisdom-filled individuals to share with us their expertise, competence, and experience that will help us gain more success, knowledge, and wisdom.
So get your fill of wisdom every Wednesday. It's time. Hi, I'm Jamie.
Jamie, are you investing in the stock market?
Yes.
So you have stock market accounts?
Yes, I have COL and Sun Life.
Wow, so you have 3?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how much that would be in the future?
It will be more than 50 million.
Wow.
Come to It's Time Stock Market and we will teach you everything. Hey there! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my mom, Miss Joy Tayaban!
So, are you ready?
I'm JJ.
I'm JM.
I'm Jack.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time WoW!
Wisdom on Wednesdays.
Your weekly dose of wisdom.
So every Wednesday, we will invite wisdom-filled individuals to share with us their expertise, competence, and experience that will help us gain more success, knowledge, and wisdom.
So get your fill of wisdom every Wednesday. It's time. Hello everyone, I'm Jamie Tayaban, and I'm here to teach you how to change your virtual background. Click the app button beside the stop video. Then it says choose your virtual background. Click the plus button to add an image. Then choose your photo. Click open. That's it, you're done. Congratulations!
Under the sun.
everyone, I'm gonna teach you how to use a GCash app to pay off your insurance policies. First, you need to download the GCash app, and if you don't have one yet, just use my QR code so we both get an incentive. And once you've downloaded the app, find the icon on your phone and tap on it to open. Type in your password. Tap on the upper left hand and link your account so that you can fund. I'm using BPI, so click on BPI and it'll tell you to get verified first. When you click on that, it'll give you an instruction on how to get verified. Assuming you already have a balance here on your GCash account, you're ready to now make payments on your insurance. So click on Pay Bills and click on Insurance. Scroll down to the very bottom to see Sun Life of Canada, Philippines. And when you click on that, it's gonna ask for how much you want to pay, and your account number will be your policy number and then email address. And on this page, I'll just make you confirm the details of your payment. So if everything is okay, just click confirm. That's how you pay off your insurance policies through GCash app.
Join us every Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom in
Matter of Factly
with Ray
and Joey.
Don't you wanna get away to a whole new party gonna play? 'Cause I got what you need, so come with me and take the ride to the other side. So if you do like I do, so if you do like me, forget the cage, 'cause we know how to make the key. Oh, damn, suddenly we're free to fly. We're going to the other side. So if you do like I do, to the other side. So if you do like I do, to the other side. We're going to the other side. We're going to the other side.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
Jenny, are you investing in the stock market?
Yes,
So you have stock market accounts?
yes, I have COL and 2 Sun Life.
Wow, so you have 3? Do you know how much that would be in the future?
It will be more than 50 million.
Wow.
Come to It's Time Stock Market and we will teach you everything. Hey there.
I'm JJ.
I'm Jam.
I'm Jack. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time Wow!
Wisdom on Wednesdays.
Your weekly dose of wisdom.
So every Wednesday, we will invite wisdom-filled individuals to share with us their expertise, competence, and experience that will help us gain more success, knowledge, and wisdom.
So get your fill of wisdom every Wednesday. It's time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my mom, Miss Joy Tayaman.
You gotta say no to temptation. I was reading the book of my friend Jesse Tayaba this morning, and he was saying, you know, we make excuses for giving in to temptation. You know, when guys commit adultery, you know what they say? They say in Tagalog, paano ba naman kung ang palay na ang lumalapit sa manok? In English, you know, when the rice goes near the chicken. Tama? That's right? But, hey, manok ka ba? Are you a chicken? I could have said that as a married guy. I could have said that in the early years of my married life. Well, what can I do? Guapo. You know, there are women who come and they're attracted to me. Well, what can I do? What can I do? I could have gone to the easy path, but I decided I'm going to obey God and I'm going to trust Him. That one day I'm going to have a harvest. I'm going to have a great harvest. You know, adultery, we laugh about it, but it creates so much pain in this world. Not only with the spouse that gets violated, but the children and the example that you give. And if there's some people here who have fallen into adultery, I speak God's forgiveness to you. You can start anew. You can change today.
My name is JJ.
My name is JM.
My name is Jack. My name is Jay.
And my name is Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time Financial House. So, are you ready?
Invest in the stock market so that you'll become rich.
I know it's unconventional, it's not traditional, but it works. Plan, build, secure.
Hi guys, I'm Joey. I'm here to show you how cool our Sun Life PH app is. If you're a policyholder, make sure you download this app so you can access your policy anytime, anywhere. So go to Google Play Store or App Store and search for Sun Life PH to download the app. Once done, open the app. Its icon looks like this. Click that and click My Account. Since you're new, you need to register first. Make sure you have your policy number ready. After registration, you should receive an activation email like this one. So just follow the instructions there. When everything is set, you're now ready to log in to your account. Once logged in, you'll be able to view your policy details. Like you may add here your photo or the nickname of your policy. And if you click the fund value, it would show you the current NAV of the different funds of Sun Life. Ours is usually 100% index, so you would see it's only at 1 peso and 9 cents, so it's perfect to buy and add some more. And when you navigate to service request, you can see the different services offered on the app, like filing a claim, updating your contact info, or mailing address. And lastly, the last icon will show you if you have some notifications. So that's it. I hope that this short tutorial has empowered you to have that sense of control over your own Sun Life policies. If you're my clients, I do have my own exclusive FB group for you. Feel free to join so that you can be updated from time to time on what's going on. Here are my contact details. Website is sunsyjoey.com. My FB personal account is joeymj or facebook.com/jmjfamily. My two pages are Sunsy Joey and It's Time. And of course, my exclusive group for you entitled My Sun Life Valued Clients. So live brighter with Sun Life. It's time.
Join us every Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom in
Matter of factly,
with Ray.
and Joey.
I'm JJ.
I'm JM.
I'm Jack. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time WoW!
Wisdom on Wednesdays.
Your weekly dose of wisdom.
So every Wednesday, we will invite wisdom-filled individuals to share with us their expertise, competence, and experience that will help us gain more success, knowledge, and wisdom.
So get your fill of wisdom every Wednesday. It's time. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for giving me my own travel fund. You should give your kids their own travel funds too. It's time.
Hi everyone, I'm gonna teach you how to use the GCash app to pay off your insurance policies. First, you need to download the GCash app, and if you don't have one yet, just use my QR code so we both get an incentive. And once you've downloaded the app, find the icon on your phone and tap on it to open. Type in your password. Tap on the upper left hand and link your account so that you can fund. I'm using BPI, so click on BPI and it'll tell you to get verified first. When you click on that, it'll give you an instruction on how to get verified. Assuming you already have a balance here on your GCash account, you're ready to now make payments on your insurance. So click on Pay Bills and click on Insurance. Scroll down to the very bottom to see Sun Life of Canada, Philippines. And when you click on that, it's gonna ask for how much you want to pay, and your account number will be your policy number and then email address. And on this page, I'll just make you confirm the details of your payment. So if everything is okay, just click confirm. That's how you pay off your insurance policies through GCash app. Investing in the stock market?
Yes.
So you have stock market accounts?
Yes. I have COL and two Sun Life.
Wow, so you have 3? Do you know how much that would be in the future?
It will be more than 50 million.
Wow.
Come to It's Time Stock Market and we will teach you everything. Stay there. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my mom, Miss Joey Tanaman.
But it's all because of fear. Fear of the unknown. You haven't even tried it and yet your mind is already like imagining all sorts of things.
love, honor, and accept myself.
Love, honor, and accept myself. Make the sound!
Hi guys, I'm Joey and welcome to It's Time Library. I'm here to show you that there are super affordable life insurance that you can get for the entire family. In keeping up with their mission to achieve financial freedom for all Filipinos, Sun Life has teamed up with Lazada to offer affordable insurance for the entire family. Important note, this offer is exclusive to Lazada members only. When you log into Lazada, search for Sun Life and click on the Sun Life flagship store that would pop out among the choices. It'll then take you to Sun Life store where you can see all the products being offered. We have two categories, Life Armor and Family Armor. Life Armor is for single people who have no dependents yet. At 25,000 coverage, you can buy as much as 4 of these for a total of 100,000 coverage for yourself. For Family Armor, we can only have one of each variant, Family Armor 1, 2, 3, and 4. Life Armor is only 100 pesos for 25,000 coverage. Again, you can buy at most 4 so that your coverage can be as much as 100,000. Family Armor 1 is only 200 pesos and this is for the principal and his or her children up to 21 years old. Coverage is 50,000 for the principal and 12,500 each for the children. And yes, unlimited number of kids who are below 21 years old. Galing, no? Family Armor 2 is only 265 pesos and this is for the principal and his spouse and kids. Principal is covered for 50,000, spouse for 25,000, and kids for 12,500 each. Family Armor 3 is only 295 pesos and it's for principal and the parents. Principal is covered for 50,000 and parents for 25,000 each. Family Armor 4 is only 365 pesos and this is for principal, parents, and kids. Just like Family Armor 2, coverage is 50,000 for the principal, 25,000 each for the parents, and 12,500 each for the kids. For our family, we'll first get Family Armor 2. Now remember, it doesn't just give us death and dismemberment benefits, we also have accidental and medical reimbursements. The insured age bracket is from 18 years old to 64 years old, and kids are from 0 2 weeks to 21 years old. And again, this is only being offered exclusively to Lazada members. Please read all the conditions and exclusions before buying. Okay, let's proceed. Choose your armor and click buy. Check details and click place by order. You'll then be asked for the payment method. You may choose debit card, credit card, GCash, or your Lazada wallet. I'm using my GCash, so I click that and it'll take you to GCash payment, so just follow instructions. After completion, you'll get this message. Thank you for your purchase, blah, blah, blah. And we've sent a confirmation to your email address. So now, check your email. It'll look like this. Click Activate, and now you'll be asked to fill out the form. First, your details, then your spouse details, and then your kids. Notice that for each member of the family, it's asking for a beneficiary. That's because everyone is insured. Yeah, for 265 pesos, we are insured for 50,000, 25,000, and 12,500 each for all our 5 kids. Yeah, grabe, diba? Here, you just need to check all the details if correct. Make sure you have your beneficiary's details correct too. Then hit confirm. Another confirmation here to let you know that it's a criminal act to lie. So if you're confident to have told the truth and nothing but the truth, then click next. Here you must read the terms and conditions. But if you're lazy or you simply trust Sun Life, then just scroll down to the very bottom, tick I agree, and click submit. Congratulations, your policy is activated. Now you have to check your email for the proof of coverage, which is all you would need to avail of the claims if ever. It looks like this. Okay, that's it. Now you see how easy and very affordable it is to protect your loved ones. I mean, what's 265? That's just one movie ticket or one box of donuts or an order in Starbucks. But if you spend it wisely, your whole family will benefit from it. The insurance offered in Lazada are all term insurance. We have other trad insurance and VUL products that you can get as well. Just ask your Sun Life financial advisor about them. If you want to ask me, here are my details. Website is sansijoey.com. My FB personal account is joeymj or facebook.com/jmjfamily. My 2 pages are Sansi Joey and It's Time, and of course my exclusive group for my Sun Life valued clients. So, get insured. It's time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my mom, Miss Joy Tayaman!
So, are you ready?
I'm JJ.
I'm JM.
I'm Jack. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time Wow!
Wisdom on Wednesday.
Your weekly dose of wisdom.
So every Wednesday, we will invite wisdom-filled individuals to share with us their expertise, competence, and experience that will help us gain more success, knowledge, and wisdom.
So get your fill of wisdom every Wednesday. It's time.
There's a secret to success. Everybody hopes to find. There's a key to the world, and it's mine, all mine. There's a world of opportunity filled with possibility and dreams that I'm gonna find. I got a millionaire mind. I say yes. I say yes to success. I got a millionaire mind. I say yes. I say yes to success. I've got a blueprint for the future, brand new design. I'm playing the money game, winning all the time. There's a world of opportunity filled with possibility and dreams that I'm going to find. I got a millionaire mind. I say yes, oh, I say yes to success. I got a millionaire mind. I say yes to success. All that I can see, all that I can be, infinite prosperity, it's all inside of me. I got a millionaire. I got a millionaire.
There we are. Oops. Sorry about that. Just make this quiet. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Let's begin with a prayer in the name of the Father, with the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, we thank you for this wonderful day. We thank you for all the blessings that you have given to us. We pray that you're going to guide us and bless us, that we'll be able to learn a lot from this, and all the knowledge and wisdom that we will have from this meeting will be used for your greater glory. All these we ask in Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right. Good afternoon, everybody.
I'm Jesse.
Where's you? Where, Mom? Where?
Where's Mom? Unmute.
There it is.
Just unmute there.
I'm Jovi.
All right. I'm JJ.
I am JM.
I'm Doc. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time Wow!
Wisdom on Wednesday.
Your weekly dose of wisdom.
So, every Wednesday, we will invite wisdom-filled individuals to share with us their expertise and experience so that at least by the end of this lockdown, we will all be filled with wisdom.
All right. So before we introduce her, we'd like to share this video with you. Let's see. Where is the share screen? Hang on, guys. We're having a bit of a technical issue here. There you go.
What this lesson means for teams, the ones that truly accept it. Everything changes. Because here's the deal. Things always go great for a team until they don't. And then what? What happens in that moment? When the team is breaking down, people are pulling apart, what happens then? Because that's the decision point. That's when teams decide, become great or stay average. You see, most teams don't realize it, that hard defines great. They've got to grab hold of hard. They were waiting for hard because there's almost no other way through to greatness. Hard lets you know the opportunity is opening. Here's the catch. The hard I'm talking about, the hard that typically gets in the way, it's not championship hard. No, everybody wants that. It's character hard. The willingness to push through all the tough lessons along the way. For teams, it's not just the test of talent. It's the test of teammates. Because before teams are great, before they are legendary, the teammates needed to decide. Chicago Bulls, knocked out of the playoffs by the same team 3 times, ready to explode. Then unbelievable happened.
And the Chicago Bulls have won their first ever NBA championship.
The Bulls have learned their lessons well. They've grown up. Steve Jobs and Apple, torn apart, emotions at their height, until they figured it out.
In hindsight, it was a terrible mistake for Steve to be pushed out.
This is what makes us great. Man on the moon, no precedent, no rule book, nothing easy about the years of quiet work before the headlines were written. Long before success, teammates are tested. That's when they had to decide. Something starts the fire. Great teams always have potential, but then something happens. Everything comes to a head. They didn't win the battle. They didn't reach their goals. The true challenge becomes real. You know, we all think we're signing up for the championship. The push to reach the goal that everyone is watching, everyone's cheering for. We get that part. We think that's the test. And of course it becomes the final exam, but the first test is always earlier.
Steve Jobs.
That was the decision point. Things get hard for teammates. How do we respond? Back against the wall, emotions boiling up, second guessing begins. We think it's just effort, desire, commitment to reach our goals. All that matters. We know that's coming. But what about the trust after that breaks down? What about the belief after the momentum's been lost? What about the dynamics after the split has started? Of course you were signing up for success. Who isn't? But did you know you were signing up for the messy part that comes first? That's why the teams that are willing to take on that part, that accept it, that use it, that's why they win. So what do? We now know the test. And the test has likely arrived. Hard defines greatness. And the teammates will decide. Now go and make amazing happen.
All right, all right.
All right. Thank you, JJ, for playing that video. And now, good afternoon, everyone. They are in the Philippines, and good morning here in Chicago. All right. Today, we have a very special guest. She is, I met her during Tony Robbins events in Australia and in Singapore. And when I first heard her speak and teach us, especially during break times, during our events, our crew events, I was mesmerized by how wisdom filled this person is. She is very generous in giving her knowledge, and she's all over the place because she's actually the overall in charge of the crew events where we were serving. And I know that she would be able to give us a lot of insights, and especially for teams, because that's her expertise. And I invited her, and thankfully she agreed. She's a very, very busy individual, but I told her it's going to be for exclusively for my Sun Life team. And we are actually exclusive. This one is streaming. If you don't see it on my page, this is actually streaming exclusively on our FB group, the Genesis 100, the club of Sun Life Advisors, for Sun Life Advisors, and by Sun Life Advisors. So it's exclusively for Sun Life people only, and that's why we're streaming it over there, not on my page. And I'm just so grateful that she has granted my request so that she could at least impart to us her knowledge and wisdom, especially when it comes to team building, because we are a great team in Tony Robbins. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome the Asia Pacific Crew Director for both Tony Robbins and Success Resources. I know that she's the one in charge in Australia and UK and in Asia, Miss Lisa Kay.
Is that better? Yeah, you can hear me?
Hi, Lisa. Yes, we can hear you.
That was incredibly kind. It made me blush and tear up. Incredibly grateful to be here tonight and always honoured to help out our team. And I thought we'd play that video because, let's be clear, this year has not started well. You know, we are in the hardest year that many of us will have ever faced. So I wanted to talk about that and talk about you as a leader and your teams, about how we can make an extraordinary difference, because that's really what life's really about. So thank you so much. I won't take all your time tonight, but I wanted to share a few of the tips and tricks and at least get you started in how we do what we do and what makes a difference. So I've got a few bits and pieces that I want to share with you as we go through. I appreciate that many of you are on mute, but if I can see every now and again a thumbs up, it would be really helpful for me, because I am incredibly a visual presenter, and I have been spending my days and weeks on Zoom calls and everything else in the last couple of months. So it's lovely to see some beautiful faces. Lovely seeing Joey there, by the way. Just makes my heart. So as Joey said, I'm incredibly lucky to be the crew director for Asia Pacific for both Tony Robbins Cruise and Success Resources, which is how we've met. But I also work and have done for the last 20 years in leadership development and team coaching and executive development. So that's kind of my day gig on top of the Tony Robbins stuff. So I come from that level of experience, and I thought we'd share some of the tips and tricks that I use in the Tony Robbins environment that Joey's talking about. And I'll put a little bit of a corporate context on it for your own team development and how you can actually use it moving forward. Does that sound okay? Thumbs up. Cool. again, some of this is really practical because, you know, I like to get the best in the world and think about how can I make it useful for everybody. And that's kind of my mission in life, really. So first of all, like, it's a tough year. Can I get a thumbs up? How are you guys holding up? You know, you're from all over the place. Are you doing okay? Yeah, I got a couple of thumbs. Look, I don't know about you, but my 2020 year plan didn't include anything of the last 4 months. I looked at my 2020 year plan. It's like, kind of stuff's happened, and it's pretty interesting times that we're living through. And, you know, all of us have life, family, friends, you know, health, work, income, everything else has been impacted in these last 4 months, which means that leaders have to adapt even more quickly. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about that context because, you know, it's not a year that we've ever expected. And some of you may know this term, but we are living in a very VUCA world. And VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And I don't know about you, but the last 3 months have tested every one of us. I was reading an article from Harvard Business Review just the other week, and they were talking about just the fact that we are living through a pandemic has a 25% increase in our cognitive load. So that means on top of our normal, busy, crazy lives that we have, where we're trying to be, you know, an amazing leader, parent, family, everything else going on, we've got this additional load of 25% to deal with. So it's no wonder some of you might be feeling tired, or you're sick of Zoom fatigue and, you know, you don't want to show me your face tonight. I totally get it. We're all going through it, and it's a pretty interesting world. But the impact of living in this volatility, uncertain, complex and ambiguous environment is it actually causes us to have some different reactions. And I want to talk about that, and then talk about that for you as a leader and how that's going to play out for your team leadership. So you can see a couple of slide points up on your screen right now. These are some of the ways people may react, and we become insular. When time gets tough, we quite often go into our, you know, zone. What can I control? And the truth is, you know, right now we're adapting and being way more agile than any other time in the world. So I just want to call that out because I know many of you have very big roles in life, and it's important that we are kind to one another and understand what's going on. But what I want to share with you is, how do we lead through it? You know, we're in a VUCA situation. We don't know when this is going to end. This is a really challenging time. So how do we become even better? And we're going to talk about getting more vision, more understanding, more clarity, and being more agile. And this is some of the ways that you can lead through VUCA. You want to make sure that you're really listening and being direct. You want to be even more understanding and dial up your empathy even further, because people are going through stuff. If you provide a friendly ear, they trust you further. And we'll talk a lot about trust tonight. And then, of course, making sure that you are doing what you say. This is basic leadership principles, but I just wanted to call it out before I start talking about how you build a great team, because if anything, it's up to us. We're the leaders. So the buck stops with us. And if we want to make a shift, we have to bring it first. You know, leaders go first. There's no doubt about that. You can sit back and hope it all happens, but I know I'm not talking to that group of people. I'm talking with go-getters. So we want to make sure that we tune you up and help you drive even further if you can. So just a couple of little context setting things, because I just think it's so important this year to really be clear about what we're going through. Now, Joey was really kind about what I do in that world of Tony Robbins and creating great teams. And part of that is I get to, sorry, I'm looking over the screen to make sure I turn slides at the same time. I get to work with a whole range of volunteers from mostly 30 different countries at any one time, hundreds of people generally. And I literally have a couple of hours to get them into some form of team to go deliver and serve at probably one of the highest levels at a team event you've ever seen before. And these people are volunteers. So they're not paid to be there. We have to leverage and pick up their heart and purpose and make sure we're giving them exceptional value because when people feel valued and appreciated, they'll do exceptional things. And I'm going to share some of the same tricks I use in corporate world and the same tricks I use in that world, and about how do we build that to make it, you know, simple and easy for you to apply as well. So one of the things that we always talk about is, you know, what makes a great team? Now, Joey showed a beautiful video that I found last night, actually, because I thought, how can I call out that teamwork isn't just the glory? It isn't just the high fives. It isn't the wins. It's the hard stuff that happens. And we're in a hard year. So how do we think about what are we going to do differently, and how do we dial up that percentage of our attention and effort to support our teams and help them grow further? Because all of us are going to need more out of our teams and each other than we ever have before. Is that right? Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about teamwork. And I know many of you come from a whole range of experiences. You know, a team that actually works together. Now, sometimes you see teams that are put together as a team, but not necessarily have a driving purpose. And there's a whole other conversation about teams and purposes that maybe Joey will invite me back to talk about, but that's a whole other day. But being really, really clear about why is a team together and why is it a team? And because if you don't get the essence of why they're a team, the rest of it kind of skips off the surface. So being really clear about what it is that we're here to achieve and what purpose and what strategy we're driving towards is super critical right from the beginning. And that's up to you as a leader, being able to articulate that in a way that is simple, compelling, emotion-filled, and meaningful. And that is just the essence of how you need to start with them, because all of this comes back to how you lead. So I want to talk a little bit more about that as we go through. So Joey was talking about how I bring together a team, particularly in that volatile environment. Now, any of you have been to a Tony Robbins event, they're high pressure, there are lots and lots of thousands and thousands of people. People come in with a variety of expectations. It is loud like a rock concert. There is, you know, there's chill, there's cold, there's dancing, there's movement. Sometimes there's a firewalk, sometimes there's not, depending on the event that we have. We have a lot of moving parts. And the essence of that is how do we make these teams and break them down into small functional working group teams to actually drive and deliver those aims. And it's exactly the same principle that I use in my corporate world. So, you know, corporate world, I run a huge learning team across Asia Pacific. We're always building, you know, leadership development and leadership training and that kind of thing, but it's exactly the same principles. So let me talk with you. I'm one of those people that believes in using the best and making it practical. So I'm just showing you a framework for a high-performing team, or a cohesive team is the term for this that's trademarked. And it's actually by a guy called Patrick Lencioni. Now, Patrick wrote a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, because if you ever want to be a bestseller, you want to write on the negative, because people will buy more books that way. But he flips it and talks about what is a cohesive team, what is a high-performing team, and what epitomizes how that works. And what I love about this simplicity is that it's often the foundations that we ignore that make the most amount of difference for a team. So in this very simple model, you'll see it's a pyramid. The first thing you see, the pyramid, is the foundation of trust. I'm going to spend a reasonable amount of time today talking about trust. But trust from a leader, trust within teammates, trust as a team is the absolute cornerstone, bedrock, foundation stone, whatever you want to call it. It is everything to making a team work. And to build trust, we're going to share with you some of the tactics that you need to do, but it is the number one thing you must. You've got to be clear on how you build trust before you do anything else. As a leadership coach, I often get people coming to me and saying, got a problem with my team, they're not accountable, they're not delivering, we're not getting the results we want. I don't know how many of you have ever heard that before, but often they're looking at the top of the triangle. You know, things aren't getting the results they want, people aren't being accountable. And I'm like, that's really interesting, because that's just the symptom. we have to go to the root cause, which is always in the foundation. A symptom of poor results, foundation, problems with trust and conflict. And I'll talk about how that rolls out. And the truth of the matter is, if you work out how to build these building blocks of both trust, productive conflict, and I'll spend a little bit of time on that tonight if I get time, the rest flows up brilliantly. Because if a team member feels trusted and they're comfortable in having robust conversations with their teammates and their leader, and they know what's required, the commitment, the accountability, the helping one another out, it just flows from there. So I'm going to spend most of the time tonight just talking about those first two foundation pieces, because that's where I know you can make the most amount of difference for your team. Is that okay with everyone? Okay, getting a few thumbs up here and there, that's kind of nice. So what I love about this model, Patrick Lencioni, and by the way, you can Google this guy. There is a bucket load of material. He's one of my favorite speakers in the corporate world, but he's just a down-to-earth, pragmatic person, and he loves, like I do, sharing knowledge so that you can take it further and go with it. So I want to talk a little bit more about each one of these things. But before I go there, I'm going to share what the absence of great teamwork looks like, because sometimes it's hard to tell. We always know what the good is, but what does the bad really mean, and what are the consequences of a dysfunctional team? And I use the word dysfunctional quite deliberately. Patrick's used it in his book, but it's also calling out, it's not bad behavior, it's not bad people, it's dysfunctional. The functions of the team are not working appropriately, and that's what we need to address. So you should be able to see on your screen right now, we've got the blue, which is the cohesive team, and we've got the red, which is the dysfunctional team. So in a dysfunctional team, there is an absence of trust, and people will not be vulnerable. So there's an invulnerability. They, don't protect, don't see what I'm about. This is, I'm going to cover up and not be who I am at best, and they won't share. When you have a fear of conflict, you have what's called artificial harmony. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this later on tonight. Artificial harmony might be something you might be familiar with. Often in teams that aren't quite working, everyone says everything's okay on the surface. Oh yes, we're all good. But what they're really saying is, no, we're all good. They're doing that confusing thing, and that's quite often an artificial feeling. They don't feel trusted, they're not having the conversation, so there's this mask that everything's okay. Now, I'm going to be really blunt here. I see it a lot in Asia Pacific because we don't want to be not nice. We're too scared sometimes to have the conversations about, this needs to happen, kind of need to work together to make it different. So we just go, oh, it'll all be okay. We kind of put a little mask over it. It's going to be all fine. But it's actually the most damaging thing you can do in a team. So being able to have that trust and being able to have those courageous conversations and being able to brainstorm, and, it's okay to disagree sometimes. Sometimes in our world we've made disagreements wrong. They're only wrong if you go too far. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then as you go further up, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the other levels, but if people don't have commitment, there's often ambiguity, or not accountable, low standards. Now I know this team, if you're involved with Joey, I know that the standards are super, super high, because that's the only way she'd roll. So I am confident that that's not how this team's going to roll. And then I'll see the very top bit. If we don't pay attention to the results, it's often about status and ego. It's about what I look like, not about what we look like. And quite often you can see some of those. Any of you ever been in a team that's kind of a bit icky like that? Icky being a very technical term. Yeah, I can see a few little nods. That's not where we want to play. We're better than that. You're a leader that's better than that. So we want to spend a little bit of time about calling this out and thinking about what we can do differently and better. So I'll share all this as well with Joey so she can share as much as she wants. So it's time. Let's talk about trust. Now, trust is one of those things that everyone says, oh no, I trust everybody. But it's actually multidimensional. When you think about, I trust people in my life. Now, hopefully you trust your partner, I hope. And you will have, hopefully, high trust in your intimate partner, in your relationship. That's someone that you know without a quiver of a doubt, absolutely, you can trust them with your life, all's good, or your family members, right? We have a high degree of trust. That's character trust. But there's also functional trust. And functional trust is, well, let me give you an example. I recently went away for a weekend with my brother. Now, I love my brother, trust him completely. And at the back end of that, we were at the laundry doing some washing. I don't trust my brother in the laundry. He doesn't separate whites from reds. Everything turned out pink. So whilst I trust and adore my brother, I don't functionally trust him in a laundry. Does that make sense? So part of what we really want to focus on is not only the character trust about who they are as a person, but also their functional trust in their role. And sometimes leaders might confuse the two. Often they trust someone, but they haven't yet learnt or developed the skills to build up the functional trust. And that's sometimes why I like to call it out. Because, I trust most people. That's kind of how I roll. And trust is one of those things that you need to give first. And everyone's going, no. But when you think about it, whenever you've been in an intimate relationship or any other kind of relationship, at some point you trust, you give first. And leaders, we always go first. So I'm going to ask you to trust, and then you might need to talk about whether you need to build some functional trust or help them with some skills development if it's not a performing relationship. Does that make sense? So let me talk to you a little bit more about trust, and in particular, the benefits for you. So if you don't have trust, so if there's no trust in a team members will hide their weaknesses or mistakes. They won't ask for help or provide feedback on where things are not going right. And they often will jump to conclusions and make up stories. So it doesn't always support the whole team. And sometimes they even hold grudges because they don't trust each other. So they're not looking for that highest intent. But if you have a team member that you can really trust, it's like, I'm not good at this. Joey knows. I say this all the time. I'm not good at some things. That's okay. I trust her. She's got my back. I've got hers. It's all good. Team members will ask for help. They'll admit where they're learning something or where they're great at something so they can help out another. And they'll also give one another the benefit of the doubt in a tricky situation because they trust. They hold the highest intent of what this team is really about, what this purpose really is. And if things go wrong, because they do, we're human, they'll apologise. And the apology will be accepted because people are human and we make mistakes from time to time, but it's not going to be a grudge. It's, life happens. We're all learning. The benefits of having a high trusting team, you just know that it's good for you. As a leader, once I know that I've got a leadership team or a team that trusts me and I trust them, it's like we can do anything. We really can, because together we're united, and that's where it comes in. So I know some of you are going to go into the office tomorrow or into your next team meeting and say, right, we need to build the trust. I'm going to suggest to you a couple of tactics that will help you build that in a bit of an easier way. Glenda just turned a camera on. That was really lovely. Glenda's driving. So let me share with you some tools and tips that I've used and see how they land for you. And of course, none of this is the epitome of everything. Leadership is an art form. It's not a science. You will be consistently learning how to be a better leader, how to be a better teammate the rest of your life if you're a constant learner, which I know most of you will be. Leadership is an art. We are always constantly flexing and growing. So here's a couple of tips that I use. To build more trust, you need to go first. I think I've been saying that probably 4 or 5 times already. Leaders model the way. You've got to show up. You've got to show them how it's done. You've got to show them what's expected. And you have to be the first to share your story. And part of that is about you being vulnerable with them. And sometimes that's kind of scary, but leaders go first. So they want to know about you. The first thing I do in a team environment is tell them who I am. And I don't always share just the glossy stuff. You know, I talk about the fact everyone's got stuff. We're all learning. We're all growing. That's okay. No one's perfect. And quite frankly, perfection is the lowest standard we're aiming for. We want to be constantly growing and improving and being okay with that. Show you that level of vulnerability. You know, I once was coaching this senior leader, a really important industry here in Australia, actually. And he was taking a role in Singapore. And he's like, oh, I need to do better with my teamwork, Lisa. And I'm like, sure, how can I help? He's like, oh, well, you know, I just don't feel the team trusts me. I'm like, okay, well, that's really interesting because he's a really lovely man, you know, very easy to talk to, super high achiever. And he's like, yeah, they don't really know that much about me, I guess. I'm like, oh, that's really curious. So this man, in the 3 years he'd been leading this team, they had no idea that he was married, that he was a former professional world champion cyclist, that he was a father of 2 kids, that he rode his bike to work every day. I mean, all sorts of things that were interesting and enabled some colour about who this person was that they're trying to follow. And actually understanding how to be more of you and bring that out to light is the first step in building trust. Because as you share your story, they share theirs. And with empathy, you actually build that level of trust. That's how you make friends. Remember when we were kids, we were making new friends in the playground? Remember when you go out on your first dates, you share a little bit about you, they share a little bit about them, you kind of feel a bit better, you feel a bit more, you share a bit more. It's kind of how we roll. It's exactly the same, maybe not quite to the dating stories, peeps, just keep it clean. It's a PG environment. Think about how you can share a little bit about who you are and what makes you tick. Second step for me, and this is crucial, and it's one of my favorite books. It's a classic. If you haven't read it, pick up a copy, read the book summary, watch it on YouTube. There's 1,000 different variations of it. But I read this and I share this with graduates every year. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Now, I'm going to quote and say, I think it might have been published in the 70s or 80s even. It's a long time, but it is a classic because it's a classic about interpersonal communication. I read it every year. I can still learn. I can still apply more. You know, I'm busy. Sometimes we forget some of these things. But the fundamental principle that I love the most, and I always talk about, is seek first to understand and then to be understood. And there's some beautiful stories in this book, but if you learn to understand what's going on for someone else first, or their perception of what's happening, from there you can actually then be understood about what you need and what you need to influence. And it's really important. It helps you understand that you need to listen with the intent to understand. So often in today's world, we're listening for our turn to talk. I think I'm listening, but really I'm just waiting for you to draw a breath so I can speak. You know, that kind of talk. Listening to understand is a whole different manifestation. And there's a whole piece of things around active listening and all that sort of thing. And, you know, Joey knows I could talk about this for decades, but I want to keep it short and sweet. But they're the first 2 principles I always go to how I build more trust. And I've got 2 more I thought I'd share. Is this okay with you so far, by the way? I'm going kind of rapid fire, but yeah, okay, cool. I'll keep rolling. I know there's going to be some questions at the end, so please keep writing down any thoughts that you've got, any situations. I love helping people, so I want to share some of those kind of things. A couple of other little tips. Create a circle of safety. Now, again, this is a Covey term that I really love, but treat them well. And I talked about a little bit earlier about making sure that you have that shared sense of team, what a team is, and that purpose, making sure that you're within the circle. and that you are very inclusive within the circle. I talk about this quite often in our big team things. Do you ever go to one of those, really trendy shops and the shopkeepers are having such a great time that they're kind of ignoring you because, they're super cool and they're too cool for you to be in their shop? I don't know if any of you have had that experience, but it makes you feel excluded. And part of being a high-performing team is making sure that people feel very included, even if they're just there for a day or a moment. We want to make sure that people are cared for and included. And, in recent histories, recent weeks, it's been pretty tough out there in the world, and inclusivity is probably one of our super strengths. As leaders, we can do more. So that's one of the really important tips for me, making sure that everyone has an opportunity to contribute. And the last thing is try and share an experience together. Now, I don't know about you guys, but in COVID times, we're not exactly getting out together and going for a coffee or a team dinner or any of that kind of thing. But some of the things that you need to do is put an experience together. Now, in my team, we've done Crazy Hat Fridays, Thirsty Thursdays on a Zoom meeting, and create a bit of an experience. One of my team left because she's pregnant last Friday. So we actually all had a very luscious morning tea together on Zoom, and farewelled her with all sorts of crazy baby stuff. So again, it's creating some of those experiences. It's lovely when we can all get together and go out for a lovely dinner, and hopefully those times will come again. But what else can you do to create an experience together? In some of the stuff that Joey's done with me, we do all sorts of crazy stuff, including a firewalk. I wouldn't recommend that straight up. Takes a skill set. But there's all sorts of things that you can do to actually create that experience together and have some fun with it. Sometimes work can be a chore. So how can you make it fun? We do things like stuff at Olympics, because I have to stuff a lot of folders with pieces of paper, which is tedious. No one loves that. So how can we make it fun? How do we make it a fast game, an active game, and how do we enjoy the process of getting the job done? As a team who's ready to do anything, it's easy to play with it. So creating some experiences together, whatever you need to do, you can get creative with this. So I've talked a lot. It's time for you. I'm going to give you a task. I think it's really important that whenever you do a learning or listen, that you actually do something with it. And whilst it's lovely that I've got your time and attention on this Wednesday evening, you have to make an action. So I'm going to get you to decide on one action that you could do that would continue to build even more trust in your team already. Okay, just one. I'm not asking for the world, just one action that you might be able to take on all the stuff we've talked about. And then, and Joey might be able to help us with this, make sure you find someone in this wonderful group who will hold you to account. We call that an accountability partner. Who's going to help you succeed? Who's going to say, rightio, Lisa, did you take that action yet? You said you were going to do it by next week. Have you done it? And I want you to be able to do that, because it's so often we miss the opportunities to take the learnings into an action. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds here to write something down. I'm going to hold. You actually do it. Glenda, who's driving, be careful. No accidents on my watch. What could you do to build even more trust in your team now? And when you finish, take a great big drink of water. I love it when people turn their cameras on for a minute so I get to see some faces. All right, you only get a minute, so I'm going to keep rolling because I thought I'd cover the next layer. You guys up for a little bit more? Some of the stuff that I'm sharing, we would cover in the corporate world over a day. So you're getting the hyper speed, hyper summary of this session, but I want to make sure I give you something that's really useful. And the second piece that I really want to spend some time with, particularly where we are in the world, is conflict. And remember, that's the second level. The foundation was trust. The second level up is conflict. And conflict gets a bad rep. Conflict always, people think, as soon as I say conflict, people go, oh, no, not the conflict. But conflict can be very productive. You know, when you're arguing with your best friend or your best mates or your family about, you know, where to go on a holiday or how to, you know, do the house renovations or whatever it is that you're doing, there's often robust conversation, which is productive conflict. It's when you're striving and you trust someone and you're willing to have those levels of conversations, it actually makes the outcome better because of those conversations. So productive conflict is super important into how teams really roll and evolve. Because when you know someone's going to say, you know what, Lisa, you weren't quite on point then. I think you can do better. I think we could do it this way. What do you think about that? And I go, that sounds really interesting. Tell me more. How can we be better together? That's the essence of great teamwork. That is the essence of great teamwork. Now, Joey knows me through the Tony Robbins environment, and I have to tell you, that is a feedback-rich environment. I am always getting feedback about what we can do differently, better. You know, Tony Robbins is a man of continuous improvement as a methodology. We call it CANI, continuous and never-ending improvement. So my team, whenever I call a CANI meeting, they know what it's about. We're here about how do we get it even better. We know it's great, but great's not super great. Great's not extraordinary. How can we lift the game? And so being able to have that level of conversation and brainstorm productively is just, it actually lights me up. I'm like, wow, because that's the essence of what teams are, right? 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 when there's a team. You know, 1 + 1 = 4 or 5. Great minds that we can leverage and ideas and experiences that we can share. And that's what really has the ability to lift your team from the ordinary to the extraordinary. So let me talk to you a little bit more about conflict. I spoke a little bit before about artificial harmony. And I'm going to be direct. Hopefully you know when you started to build some trust in me, I'm here to serve you. How I enable people to be their best in the world is everything that I do. That's my purpose in life. But I know in Asia Pacific, we're not great at this. We often put the mask up. We often say, it's okay. Or we do the yes, yes when we really mean no, no. And I know some of you are nodding at me so I can see your faces. We know this happens, right? And it takes a courageous leader to be able to call it out and do better. And I really want that for you. But there's a point. And sometimes I quite often coaching some people. I'm coaching, actually did a huge change thing in Malaysia last Wednesday via Zoom, as we're doing everything via Zoom these days. And it was quite confronting for them. It was a confronting thing. We were talking about how we needed to change a leadership approach. And, you know, it's painful. Change isn't easy. If it was, everyone would do it. But courageous leaders will go for it. Change, leadership is all about leading change. It's everything we do. So we talked a little bit about this artificial harmony because I was getting what I call the yes, yes. And I could feel that was really I'll do anything to shut her up. Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? I'll say yes, yes, she'll go away soon and I'll go back to doing whatever it is that I wanted to do beforehand. I know you've been in this situation. And that really is that artificial harmony. They're not engaged, they haven't bought in, and you have to work a lot harder to get this. Now, let me talk about this little diagram I've got up. There's a point, it's called the continuum of conflict. There's a point where it's artificial harmony. Nothing much is happening. It's kind of a mask, nothing really real. There's no real action. It's certainly not going to improve your team. And then there's this point over here that is quite destructive conflict, where people call each other names or hold grudges or really are quite destructive. And that is absolutely unacceptable behaviour. I'm sure you'll all agree. So there's a range from artificial harmony to unacceptable behaviour, right? And that's a whole line. But in that middle bit, that's where the power of productive conflict lives. And sometimes it might get a little bit robust, but with a great team who's trusting, they'll say sorry and go back to the productive level. You know, sometimes in the heat of a moment, someone goes, oh, you always say that, which is the worst thing you can ever say, right? It's like, oh, I'm sorry. No, what you mean is this, this, and this. And you can have those moments because you've got that level of range and trust in the team. But as soon as it goes to unacceptable behaviour, as a leader, you must call it out. There is no tolerance for that, and it will destroy your team faster than anything else. And the same as artificial harmony. Artificial harmony will give people a false sense of security. And when times get tough or when you really need a team, it's not there. Because they haven't learned how to give each other feedback. They haven't learned how to share. They haven't learned that the power of the team is greater than one individual. And that's the essence of what great teamwork is. You know, I often have people go, yeah, the way you're doing that, oh, I've got an app that can do that. We can fast track it. And I'm like, all power to us, right? To be continually evolving and to continually improving, that's the highest level of standards that you want to achieve. And let me call out some examples of where conflict happens, and some of these may ring a few bells. A team that's scared of having conflict, and I mean productive conflict, they often have really boring meetings because it's just all delivered. No one's actually arguing or discussing. Personal attacks kind of thrive, often behind the scenes. They're scared to have conversations about, you know, controversial topics. You know, I had an amazing conversation around the Black Lives Matter issue. You know, we're not scared to have those conversations. That needs to be had. They're scared to tap into the brilliance of their teammates, the other skills and abilities of their teammates. And they waste a lot of time, all that posturing and gossiping and all the rest of that stuff, right? But a team that's willing and has a courageous leader like you guys, that's willing to actually explore some productive conflict, they have interesting meetings. They're thought-provoking. They're looking for what can be better, how can we improve, what if, I wonder, those kind of conversations. They actually make sure that everybody in the team is heard. So they've got ideas and they want to extract ideas, even from the quieter ones in the room. Because I tell you, one of the things I find, the quietest ones, the ones that sit back and watch, that's often where the gold is. To actually engage and ask for their input, that can be really magical. So some of your quieter team members are loving and living for this moment. A team that has that productive conflict, they get stuff done. They solve real problems quite quickly and quite creatively. And they put all the topics that need to be discussed right in the middle of the table. So there's an expression, I was coaching a leadership team, have done for the last 3 years, a very senior leadership team, and they're from all different worlds, probably about 10 different nationalities. Some are in Singapore, some are in Malaysia, some are in Indonesia, some are in Australia, some are in New Zealand, and one's in the UK. So a very different melting pot, right? And we have this rule that whatever needs to get discussed gets put in the center of the table. We call it name the elephant. So what's the elephant in the room? The name the elephant is, this is the problem. And that problem gets explored all the way around. Without personal judgment, without personal comment, it's exploring the problem in a constructive manner. And they've learned to do that so gracefully, so elegantly, that, you know, the first year of those team meetings were honestly quite awkward. I was kind of like mediator, like felt like I needed to hose people down sometimes. We've got to the point now where they can really have productive conversations and brainstorm everything. And, you know, we're in a position right now where the economy is not going super well and they've got to make some different changes. And they're handling it so brilliantly because they trust each other. They trust the outcome that they're on. and they're willing to have those conversations. So incredibly rewarding. And for you as a leader, when you get to that point, honestly, it's a problem shared. It's a problem halved. It's just so fulfilling. So, conflict. It's about feedback. And remember, leaders go first. How do you start building the environment for this? I want you to start asking your team members for feedback on you and push them for it. What can I do better or differently for you? It's not an easy question to ask sometimes, but what can I do better or differently for you? And make sure you ask that every meeting that you have with them. Sometimes it might take 6 months before you get something from someone because they're not sure it's safe yet. You need to continually work on building that trust and know that you're open for that level of conversation. It takes time to build this. But if they really know, you got a teammate for life. I was talking to someone a while ago when I was a little bit younger in my career, and I came into a very big organisation across our globe and to do a senior leadership program. And the lady who was the driver of it said to me, every time we meet, I'm going to be asking you for feedback. And I'm like, okay, that's what good leaders do. I know the drill. I know the theory. But I was also a supplier to this client. I wasn't employed by them. And so when you're getting paid and they're a client, you're not that willing to necessarily give them feedback in the way that we're talking about here, right? So it was a really awkward kind of thing for me. She's like, you're not giving me any feedback. I want feedback. And it kept going and going, and like 6 months into the engagement, and I'm like, she's my major client. I can't be telling her where I think she's not great. It's kind of awkward. I need the check. But we got to the point of trust where I'm like, she actually wants to know, and she actually values that external opinion. And this is my profession. This is what I do. I'm here to make people better in the way that they want to grow. So we actually started having some different conversations. And I'm like, when you do that, I'm just trying to get curious about your intent. Getting curious about the intent is a really sneaky little word to use. And explaining what my perception of that behaviour was, and it just literally changed the conversation. She's probably been one of my raving fans for the past 10 years, but it's all because we were willing to let go a little bit, trust, and have that courageous conversation. So I know there's probably a lot of those conversations that you might be avoiding having. None of us love them. Someone said to me the other week, just last week, you need to train us in how to have better conversations. And I'm like, it's kind of like teaching someone to swim. I can teach you how to do the strokes. I can teach you the theory of swimming. I can teach you the steps of when the arm goes up, your head goes. I can teach you all of that. But at some point, you have to jump in the pool. You have to get wet to learn how to swim. And having a courageous conversation means you have to jump in the pool. Hold your intent to serve them the best way that you can, and know that you're in it to making your team even better, and don't damage them. Again, stay in that ideal conflict point, looking for robust and continuous improvement and brainstorming greater and better ways to be, and that will start shifting things for you. So I think I've got one more thing, and then I want you to start thinking about some questions for me. I want you to think about some of these points. How do you feel about your current team's cohesiveness? Where could they do some work? What could you do just to shift it 1%? Just 1%. We don't have to conquer the world here tonight. What could you do to actually fix that up? And what might that mean for you as a leader? What do you need to do more of or better of? And sometimes, let me be honest, sometimes it's taking a minute or two before a team member meeting or a team member conversation to just get centered and remember you're there to serve as a leader for an extraordinary team, and having that moment to breathe and think about your outcome in the conversations. That helps me. and then think about what you might need to do for you. So I'm just going to give you 30 seconds, have a glass of water and have a quick drink. And then for those who are advanced readers, I've put one more challenge up because I like to challenge you just a little bit. Only, here's the condition, only after you've invested a lot of time in building better trust in your team, only then, I want you to think about what can you do to encourage more productive conflict. Let me share one of the things that we're doing. You know, I work in learning, I work in leadership development, I work in how do we do training when we can't get together anymore. So my team, we're having a continuous and never-ending improvement conversation every fortnight. What can we do and learn from each other so that we can keep evolving and growing? Might be one of the ideas you might want to steal. And again, with your same accountability partner, share that action. But again, only after you've done some trust. Is that cool with everyone? Promise me? I've gone on hyperspeed. I'm just giving you the advanced version here. All right. So I'm going to start wrapping this up and start throwing some questions in a second. And I thought I might leave that slide up because to me, this really epitomizes the simplicity of making teams extraordinary. Building the trust, getting your foundations right, working through how to have really great productive conflict. And from there, the commitment, accountability, and your results do arrive. I've really just focused on the first two because I think in all my experience, in all the coaching I do, if I get those first two right, the rest rolls. I can come back maybe if Joey's got any more wisdom on Wednesdays, we can come back and do some more later on. But I just thought I'd give you the most amount of value tonight on the two things that will make the biggest amount of difference. So Joey, I think we've got some questions coming through or some comments. How do you like me to roll with those? I can't quite get them up on my screen. Oh, it's coffee time. Angie's going for coffee. Any questions? Feel free to type in the chat box or, yeah.
All right. If you have any questions, please raise your hand so that JJ can unmute you and we can interact with Miss Lisa. By the way, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of some of the branch managers inside the room. And that's, I saw the names BM Bell, BM Magda, and BM Mina Bondoc. So thank you so much for coming. Some of them are actually inside our FB group. That's where we are actually streaming right now. So they're not inside the room because this one has limited capacity. But yeah, if you want to ask questions, guys, please raise your hand so that we can interact and JJ can unmute you.
Great. And I'll give an email address at the back end if anyone needs to email me tomorrow because they can't raise their hand.
Oh, yeah. So anyone? Or may I hear from at least the 3 BMs that I mentioned here? BM Arabella Bell. BM Bell. Sorry guys, because I'm not using my laptop, so it's really very limiting for me to just use my phone. Until now, I still haven't figured out which internet is the best here. But anyway, JJ is helping me out there from the Philippines. So BM Bell, if JJ is listening to me, because I can't really.
Okay, BM Bell is already on and she can already talk to Miss Lee.
Hi,
Lisa.
BM.
Yeah, hi, Joey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I didn't know Joey was in Chicago.
She gets around.
Anyway, Lisa, question. If trust is not there, so what happens to your pyramid? Everything falls. No commitment, no good conflict resolution, no accountability, no results. Correct?
Correct. Trust is the foundation for everything. That's where you need to start work first.
So if currently there is no trust among the members of a team, what is needed by the leader?
So those couple of tips that I gave earlier, that's where I'd start. So leaders got to go first. And part of that is bringing yourself into a position of something has to shift. And as a leader, I would go into that position and think about, what do I need to do better of as a leader, and actually have that conversation with them. I want to make sure that we lift this team's level of performance and commitment to each other. And part of that is us appreciating and acknowledging and caring about one another. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, and then I want to hear from each of you. And we call that the trust building exercise, which I can even share with you some of that. It's available on Google, but it's actually building your personal history. So sometimes when people don't trust, they don't actually have an appreciation of someone's story. So personal histories is about, how I set it up is I say, let's talk about each other. Every one of us have had amazing life in some way, either amazing good or amazing not so good, but we've all had things that have happened. I want you to think about 2 or 3 things in your life that have been turning points. Sometimes it might be when you become a parent, or it might be when you move country, or it might be when a parent passed away, or any of those big life-changing things. Think about what your turning points are, and we're going to go around the room and share them. And it's pretty scary, right? But leaders have to go first, so you have to share yours first. So one of mine was, and then go around, and this is going to take time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like a Pantene ad. It doesn't happen overnight, but you have to go first. Personal histories exercise. If you type that with Patrick Lencioni in Google, you'll find it. Really simple exercise, and it's the number one thing I do to start. And
how's that again, Lisa? Personal
histories exercise. I'll email it to Joey so she can share it with you.
Yes.
And there's even just a guideline, which is just exactly what I've told you, but sometimes it's easier when someone's got it in writing for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, BM Bell. Appreciate your presence here in the room. And may I hear from BM Magda? Jay, can you unmute, please? Is she still in the room? Because I can't see the participants. Jay?
Hello, good evening. Hi, Lisa. Hi,
Is
Lisa.
not
Good evening. And also, Joey, good evening. Yeah. So I have a question. How do you overcome the lack of commitment in the team?
Go back down to foundations.
Go back to the foundations.
Yep. So every time a leader comes to me, and thank you for asking the question, by the way, every time a leader comes to me about lack of results, lack of accountability, or lack of commitment, they're the symptoms. The cause, the root cause is always in your foundations. They don't feel that they can trust one another. They don't have that level of productive and courageous conversations. Therefore, they're not invested in the solution. They're not invested in the team, which is the lack of commitment. So always go to the foundations. What do I need to do different and better to build trust? And start with trust every time.
So always go back to trust.
Always. It's like the base level of your building.
So we have to start from the trust.
Always.
Always.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Lisa.
It's not easy. I'm sorry I can't give you an easy answer, but it's the truth.
Good. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hello,
Yeah,
Lisa.
it actually makes sense. Yes, go ahead, JJ.
Hello, I have a question myself.
Sure.
How can we build trust, presuming that the person we're trying to gain influence with has a strong resistance to our moves? Have you had an experience like this?
So, may I ask another question?
Sure.
What's your intent? Because if your intent is just to get their trust to influence them for something, that is probably why it's not working. Because if they can feel that you're trying to get it for something for them, for you, that feels a little manipulative. And people know that and put the gate up. But if your intent is to develop a stronger relationship, sometimes you just need to be explicit with that. Look, I really would like us to work better together. So I want to know how I can be more, upfront or courageous or whatever that is with you. So I just ask you to question your intent, because if someone's got strong resistance up, it might be that they're not feeling the intent from you clearly enough. And you may need to be very articulate with that. And I'm going to be honest, guys, this is remember I said at the beginning of this is an art of leadership. It's not a science. So just because, A and B doesn't mean C is always the result. Sometimes you need to flex and try different things and, wait until the moon's in the right location and try again differently, or, be curious. Think about how sometimes when our tonality around asking questions, that can be a real put off for some people. Or some people might think, one of my team, I was just sharing, she is of Malaysian descent, and she's quite, her style as a personality was quite slow in articulating her story or what she needed from me. And I drive at 1,000,000 miles an hour. That's my style. So I had to learn to be very patient and wait for her to warm up. And to the point where I was like, if you need me to act in a hurry, I need you to give it to me fast. But if you want me to share the story, I'm always happy to listen. And we actually had to divide up the friendship building from the functional trust thing that needed to happen. So that was quite entertaining as well. So again, you've got to keep flexing on this stuff. It's never, one action is going to lead to one result. That's not how leadership rolls.
See, thanks for answering my question.
Did it answer you, or have you got more to do?
Steven, can you call up architect?
Jay, can you please there's a question from Miss Juliet, SM Juliet. SM, would you like to ask it yourself? Maybe JJ could unmute you.
If not, I can read it out.
Hi, Lisa.
There.
Hi, Juliet.
Hi, SM Julie.
When can you draw the line of analyzing that a trust issue is just an issue of one or a few members of your team against you as the leader, as opposed to a trust issue that is already full-blown, that has to be addressed as a trust issue in the team?
So that's a really great question. Thank you so much for asking that. So the question is how, when you need to identify it as a trust with just a couple of individuals in the team rather than the whole team, my answer is you need to address both. So the short answer is you need to have those people, and you two need to work on your trust relationship. So one-on-one, you need to talk about how can you work better together? How could you be even more effective together? How could you improve the relationship if it's that explicit? Build trust together as those two individuals. And then you still need to do the incorporation test within the team. So one of the things, I have had this happen. I had a team member not that long ago who was quite disruptive in our team. And you know, no matter what, it felt like sometimes he'd like line up my team against me. And I don't know if that's partly what's going on for you, but it's not a great feeling. So in the end, we kind of ended up having a number of conversations about, you know, what's going on for you and how do I be a better leader for you? What do I need to be more of or better of for you to build this wonderful relationship that I know that you're capable of producing your greatest work? And having a couple of those conversations directly, again, not easy, but really powerful. And then within the team, you know, being open up front, you know, I've had to work through a couple of ways that I can improve my relationship with X and Y. And part of doing that is I want to share a little bit more around us as a team and how we can appreciate each other's brilliance or differences. Sometimes it might be a simple exercise like, you know, share with me your greatest Christmas memory or your greatest holiday experience and why. And just sharing some stories around the team. We call it highlights and heroes. So some of the things that might be a highlight last week or a few of those open share things only takes a couple of minutes. But again, you do need to do it both. Address it with the individual. That may take a little bit of time and then incorporate that within the wider team. Does that help, Julianne?
Yeah, it does. And I'm thinking of what did you say? That's forced harmony. What's that?
Harmony? Yeah.
That harmony. That's not real.
Artificial harmony.
Artificial harmony. Like I'm thinking of I'm thinking of like you if it's possible to cultivate artificial harmony for that small group, like you just put it aside and just exercise, just focus on really communicating with them and working with them along their strength, building them up on that strength until they've come to appreciate you as the leader. So you'll really and see that and they'll mix with the big team and really find real harmony.
You can do it that way, except that might take a great deal of time. And in this world and the world I work in, we often don't have that much time, which is why I'm encouraging you to go a little differently. I agree with your theory. You can do it that way, but we're in a very fast-moving business world these days, and we have to be more courageous. Not always easy, but leaders can do it that way. I'm not saying it's wrong. And in fact, probably 5 years ago, I may have advised for it as well, but we need to go differently a little bit right now.
But Lisa, in the production level, if you still maintain that and they still produce well, that would still be, especially if you are running a team that's based on really production.
Yeah. I guess it depends on what your standards and levels are. Like for me, if there's artificial harmony in a team, that's not a high performing team. But if it's okay and the job's getting done and that's enough for now and you're willing to accept that, then that's okay. Not every team can be a high performing team.
Yeah, because I see it happen well and they're doing good and tolerable in sales teams.
And, you know, I'm not here to say that's not okay. If that's okay with you and that's a standard you want to hold them to, that's okay. But my conversation tonight is on extraordinary teams and really living that type of lifestyle.
Anyway, it's just on the theoretical level. I'm discussing with you on the just theoretical.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So, do we have okay, we have I see a BM Winda Gonzalez in the room. Would you like to converse with us, engage? BM Winda and BM Mina. Maybe JJ can help me unmute.
Hi, good
Hi.
evening. Yeah,
Hi.
this is Winda. Well, sorry, but I came in late, no. But can you explain it further about accountability? What I'm trying to point out is how can we, how can I show to my people that how can they have that sense of accountability in their work?
So if you've got a high performing team, accountability is almost a byproduct. Because if the team believes in one another, trusts one another, wants to live the outcomes that you've agreed and decided on as a team, the accountability flows from that. So if you're not having that accountability, I'd go a little bit lower down on the pyramid and think about what else are we not achieving? Are they not committed? Are they not committed because they, don't think people care about them? I would go a little bit further down on the criteria, because, the essence of that is there are some things that you can tune up, and I'll come back if Joey wants me and talk about those next 3 levels of the pyramid. But where there's a lack, you need to go back to your foundations and go up from there. And it might be about articulating more about what we're here for.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Excited.
Thank you, VM.
Sis Joey, VM Mina
Hi.
here. Yeah.
Hi, VM Mina.
Yeah, sorry.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, Miss
Hey,
Lisa.
I've been enjoying your background.
Yeah, just a few questions for Miss Lisa. This is regarding conflict. Okay, maybe it's just a conflict on how to execute, because in a team, there are some like incentives that you'd like to execute. You'd like to apply. There are also some rules, or let's say incentives that is not amenable to the other leaders or other team members or the leaders in the team. And you as the head, each group would execute their own without following the general rule. But at the end, you get the result. You as the head, would you still talk to them straightforward that they did not follow the regulations or the rules, but yet at the end, they get the result? As a leader,
that is a
they don't trust the process, but they deliver the end result.
So without knowing more about the specifics of that example, and that's a tricky one, I'm probably going to revert to, and I'm giving an answer here that may really depend on the context. So if the context is relating to people's safety or your values or ethics, none of this answer applies because, we want to be very respectful of all of those things. But my innate sense is if the outcome is achieved, if you're enabling your team leaders or other leaders to execute and the outcome is achieved without any damage, like no one's getting hurt, no one's crying, and it's still within our ethics and our values, then my rules might need to flex.
Okay.
Maybe.
As long as, yeah.
Going back to this, leadership is always relentlessly contextual. Yes. So I'm sharing with you a framework and talking to you about how to get to a high-performing team, but the context may shift for all of us depending on the environment and the situation. So for me, I always go back down to the safety of the people, the values that I hold dear, that are important, and our ethics in business, and then think about, well, if they've achieved the outcomes and all of those things are okay, then how they did that may not matter as much.
Okay.
But you kind of need to evaluate that under your specific examples. Because, you know, last thing I know, it might be a Enron example or something like that, and they would all be bad.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
I know now which one to weigh about the safety and the values and the ethics. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you,
Thank you.
BM Mina.
Yeah.
Anyone else, guys? Just raise your hand so that JJ can unmute you. I do have a question. I think I already know the answer because you already, laid on the foundation, which is trust. But I still want to ask you. You were right when you mentioned about that artificial harmony, especially here in Asia, because it's probably because we don't want to hurt the feelings of our colleagues. We're not very frank, right? Compared to North Americans and even Australians, when you say things, you just blurt out things without meaning to offend. But of course, we're Asians and we're different. So, as leaders, would you know some of the ways on how we could extract the real feelings from our team members so that we will avoid that artificial harmony and really have a real one?
Yeah, and thank you for raising that, Joey. I was trying to be really sensitive around that, but I am from Australia, and I've worked all around the world, but I have spent pretty much the last 25 years working in our Asian countries with leaders and teams. So it is different. I appreciate that. So I've kept the framework intent, but pulled out what's needed. But I always go back to what's your intent as a leader. If you want to break down artificial harmony because you want to have an extraordinary team and you think that this is serving them, then I persevere with it. It's about being courageous. And in my conversations, even when I'm coaching some of my leaders up in Asia, and I had a conversation just last week with a Singaporean leader, and I'm like, I hear you say yes, but I know that means no. So what do I need to do for us to have a different conversation where we can explore both of our ideas because we want what's best for each other and for the company? And it's, again, not easy, but again, goes back to your intent. Our intent is to serve them as a team and to lift the team and the company to a different level. So it's about being clear with it. But again, when I'm doing that and I'm coming across, loud and annoying, I'm on a Zoom call and all the rest of it, but you want to drop your tonality a lot. You want to get curious because you're trying to understand their model of the world, right? And I'm like, I'm really interested in how we can do this differently and better. I want that for us and for you. I would drop the conversation to a lighter lateral. And all I will say is, in my experience, I might have to have those conversations a couple more times than I would have to in America or Australia. But that's okay because it gets there. Once they really believe that's what your intent is for them to be their best so our team can be the best, it helps change the dial. But again, please don't think this is a one conversation fix.
Yes,
this is creating a really safe, trusting and enabling environment for people who have a different culture adaptation to those kind of conversations. Because as a leader, and I'll share this as a really true example, if you're not willing to have those conversations and share that feedback for them to keep growing and developing, you're actually crippling them. And I want you to hear that really clearly. If you're not willing to serve your team members at your highest level and give them the feedback that helps them grow and develop and makes them a better teammate, you're crippling their development, you're crippling their career. And I know none of you want to do that. I had an example about 3 months ago with a very senior leader. And I'll try and think of a better word, but he's known in the business for being a very destructive, egotistical influence. We have a unique word for that in Australia that I won't share with you, but you can probably work a couple of different versions of it. So very destructive, very egotistical, not liked at all, and is very senior leader. and he went for a promotion and he didn't get the role because he's egotistical, is in it for himself, and they said enough. So he came to me for feedback. And in the feedback, and this is a very senior gentleman, he actually heard the feedback for the very first time in his career. And he was in tears with me. He's like, why didn't people tell me 20 years ago when I could have fixed this? Why did it wait till now before someone had the courage to tell me that conversation, to tell me that my behavior isn't acceptable or that I need to do better? And my heart breaks for them because it's not okay. It means us as leaders haven't served him along his career. And we can do better. And we owe it to them. If they're working with us within our team, we owe it to them. Is that okay, Joey?
Yeah, that's right, and I agree with you. And I actually think that it may be harder for you because you're dealing with a lot of different from different countries, different cultures. So it must be so hard for you. But then you handle it so well. But of course, locally, when we have this kind of attitude, especially if it's not between a leader and a subordinate, if it's just between among your colleagues, and someone just says something, and it felt like there's no, how do you call this, there's no superiority or something, and some people, they're just too proud to accept um, comments or criticisms from their colleagues, right? It's just really so hard because they all think that we're on the same field, same level. Who are you to tell me this and that? So that kind of thing. And of course, it goes back to what you have said, trust and the intent, of course. If the intention is, for the team, then yeah. But thank you so much for everything that you have mentioned, especially about the trust.
I would just say in that example, Joey, sometimes amongst peers, particularly when there's some resistance, it might be nice to drop in your curiosity. Go, I think you did a really good job there. And next time we have a chance to chat, I'd really like to talk about how together we might be able to do even better. And just drop it as a little hint and let it go. And then, just a little hint, gentle, 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 gentle. Because then they know that you're here about making things better, not about them personally. So gentle. Gentle is the key. Kindness is everything. And, having conversations that serve is kind. And that's a shift that I would like to try and help keep making in the Asian countries, because I know they're amazing people.
There's a question here by SM Juliet. I don't know if this was already answered, SM. Is this a new question? When will you identify trust?
Answered.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I just noticed it on my phone. So anyone else, guys? Please raise your hand or unmute yourselves. I think you can already unmute yourselves. I love what has been discussed here. And while you're thinking, while you're still deciding on who's gonna ask the question, let me take this opportunity to thank my team, my Canada Geese team. You know the Canada Geese birds, right? They form a triangle, and the leader on top, when it goes away, the other birds like just step up. And I'd like to thank my team because I'm here in Chicago. Some of the people there didn't know that I'm here. It was because my mom was COVID positive and she lives alone here in Chicago, and I needed to come. And that's what I like about this job, because we have the freedom of time, and of course my team, my Canada Geese team, because I know that even if I'm not there, any one of them will just step up and take the lead. So yeah, we have built some trust among ourselves, and I'm really very proud of what we have made as a team. So thank you, Canada Geese. I know that you're in there, so just hang on. We will everything will be all right.
Well done, Joey, for being that kind of leader as well. And part of that is also about celebrating the success. Your team's been amazing while you've been away, and you needed to do what you needed to do. So well done. And by the way, I've now shared all my sneaky trips. So next time you come on crew, I'm going to get you to do something else.
Oh, okay. I'm so excited to crew for next time. I don't know when will that be. Hopefully this year or maybe next. But also, I'd like to acknowledge the BMs here and all the leaders inside the room. I've had the chance to work with them. I've been mentored by them, especially BM Bell, BM Magda. They were my examples, my models, role models in this field. And I'd like to thank them because I'm just copying what they're doing. So yeah, for the leaders inside the room, people are looking up to you even if you don't know them. They're observing what you're doing, and we're copying. The reason I'm like this is because I've copied the leaders that were there before me, especially in my Mango branch. I love the management team in Mango branch when we just chat about about life, about everything. I mean, just ordinary chat, and it's fun. Even when I'm here in Chicago, I'm not really there, but it felt like, it felt like family. So I guess that's it. That's one good thing about, in a team when you feel like your family.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Well, I think we're almost at
Right.
the end. I would like to thank Joey for inviting me to be a guest tonight. I was incredibly honoured, and she had to work around a pretty tight timetable. So thank you for your flexibility and perseverance. I'm always happy to support any of my team, full stop, for the rest of my life. So I hope that you got some benefit out of today and some value. We'll share some of the notes from here. And if you ever need to reach out to me, I've put an email address up on the screen for you. So stay outstanding, stay well, stay brilliant. And I look forward to hearing what you're going to do with your extraordinary teams. Good night.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lisa. I mean, I'm the one who's supposed to be really, really grateful for your time because I know that you're very, very busy. And of course, you're being valued as a leader. So I know that. So thank you so much for spending your time
Can I
with Sun
interrupt with one
Lifers
last
tonight.
question?
Sorry,
Yes, Jay?
Can I interrupt with one last question?
Sure.
Over here in the presentation that you gave, you listed a lot of books. In the in the list that you're going to give to my mom, can you add all the reference books so that we can study on them, because they sound very, very helpful.
Absolutely. I'm a massive learner, so I'm sorry. I'm always reading books and I'm always referencing them. So happy to share always. And if you want more ideas for reading, holler anytime.
All right. Thank you once again, and I'll be emailing you. Thank you, guys, and
thank you.
have a good night.
Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Joey, stay here.
I'm JJ.
I'm JM.
I'm Jack. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time WoW,
Wisdom on Wednesdays.
your weekly dose of wisdom.
So every Wednesday, we will invite wisdom-filled individuals to share with us their expertise, competence, and experience that will help us gain more success, knowledge, and wisdom.
So get your fill of wisdom every Wednesday. It's time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, BM Minda.